Breaking news! There are subtle and not so subtle signs that something much deeper is happening behind the scenes. What if I told you that Lamar Jackson might be quietly leading a rebellion? Not just with words, but with actions, media pressure, and a not so subtle challenge to the people he should be protecting. This isn't just a story about sacks or statistics. It's about power, frustration, and time running out. The question is, are the Ravens finally about to give in? But before we delve deeper, don't forget to like this post if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you want, comment "Go Ravens" below so everyone knows you're part of the fan base. Now, let's dive into the real story that's starting to shake the foundations of this team. Lamar Jackson returned to practice recently, alongside key players like Isaiah Likely, Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, and Roquan Smith. That's a huge boost for a team chasing postseason dominance. But as much as the injury report brings optimism, there's an undercurrent of tension in Baltimore, and it's centered on the offensive line. It's not just about the players returning. It's about what's being said and not said in the locker room and to the media. Lamar missed back-to-back Wednesday practices, citing that he's been banged up and this new rest routine might become a normal part of his weekly schedule. But what raised eyebrows wasn't just the comment itself, it was the way he said it. When Lamar added that we'll have to see what coach feels about it, it didn't sound like a player simply following protocol. It sounded like a shot across the bow. Subtle, maybe, but pointed. Was he really just giving an update? Or was that a clear message to the coaching staff, a not-so-subtle warning that the offensive line isn't holding up their end of the deal? That the pounding he's taking week after week isn't just wear and tear, but negligence? Let's not forget, Lamar Jackson has already been sacked the same number of times this season as he was at this point last year. He said it himself, "I got to talk to the O-line about that. I'm not trying to talk to my guys about that." That right there, that's the sound of frustration boiling over. For a quarterback who has always tried to keep things in-house, speaking this openly says a lot. And it's not just local fans picking up on it. The national media is taking notice too. Mina Kimes recently broke down the numbers, highlighting how drastically Lamar's efficiency has dipped under pressure. Last year, Lamar was among the best in the league at avoiding sacks when pressured. This year, he's 31st. When pressured, he's getting taken down 30% of the time. Let that sink in. From top 5 to near the bottom. But it gets even worse. His QBR under pressure? Last season, second best in the NFL. This year, 23rd. That's not a minor dip. That's a collapse. And Kimes wasn't buying the argument that Lamar has lost a step or can't escape pressure like he used to. The blame is falling where it belongs, the offensive line. They're simply not giving him the time or space to operate. And what about that run-pass balance that made the Ravens so dangerous? It's not there. The run game has taken a step back. The quit-passing game that Lamar dominated with last season? It's no longer efficient. The whole system looks out of sync, and the offensive line is at the heart of the issue. So where's the change? Well, there may be something brewing. There are signs that Emory Jones is being prepared for a bigger role. His locker label was quietly changed from tackle to guard, a subtle but significant move. John Harbaugh has mentioned that Jones is getting close, and with a matchup against the Jets looming, this might be the perfect opportunity to test new combinations. Why does this matter? Because the Ravens have options. Ben Cleveland, Corey Bullock, Carson Vincent, these aren't just names on the depth chart. They're real alternatives, and right now, anything is better than watching Lamar run for his life every week. And the fans know it too. Emails and questions have poured in, calling for major changes. Some want to see Daniel Falele move back to right tackle, his original position, while Roger Rosengarten gets a shot inside. Others argue that Falele's athletic limitations make that risky. But what everyone agrees on is this: what's happening now isn't working. And if the whispers we're hearing are true, the Ravens might be on the verge of doing something they rarely do, admit they've been wrong and make a real change. Because for the first time, there's legitimate internal and external pressure building. The media is talking. The fans are talking. Even Lamar Jackson, who normally keeps things quiet, is talking. So now, all eyes are on John Harbaugh. This is the same coach who has stood by his offensive line decisions through thick and thin. But recently, even Harbs has dropped hints that Emory Jones is being evaluated in different roles, and he's the only non-starter he consistently brings up when asked about improvements. Why would he keep mentioning Emory's name if he didn't see something there? And with the locker designation changed from tackle to guard, it feels like this team might finally be preparing to shift gears. Fans like Bucho Beasy have been sounding the alarm for weeks, insisting Emory will start right after Thanksgiving. And with a matchup against the Jets, a team with a fearsome defensive front, what better time to test your best 5 linemen than in a real game environment that could expose your weaknesses or prove your decisions right? But the question remains, which guard spot would Emory take? That's where things get murky. The Ravens coaching staff has shown serious loyalty to both of their starting guards, Daniel Falale and Roger Rosengarten, even when performances have been inconsistent. So would they really bench one of their guys? Would they dare break that stubborn mold? If so, it would signal more than just a rotation tweak. It would signal a philosophical shift, one that fans have been begging for. And it's not just about performance. It's about protection, specifically protecting the franchise quarterback. Because as one fan, Deuce, said bluntly, there's no excuse for leaving 2 touchdowns on the table in the red zone because of a lack of push by the offensive line. He's not wrong. Lamar Jackson was sacked 4 times by Myles Garrett. 4 times. That's not just a stat. That's a red flag waving in the face of playoff hopes. These aren't isolated complaints. They're consistent across the fan base. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Another playoff letdown, and Ravens fans know what's coming. No major shakeups in the coaching staff. No accountability. Just another offseason of wondering how a team with Lamar Jackson, a dominant defense, and high-level weapons keeps falling short when it matters most. And there's another potential fracture emerging, the possible departure of Isaiah Likely after the season. Some believe the team may prioritize re-signing Mark Andrews over Likely, given Andrews' legacy and potentially lower cost. That's a long-term move that could have ripple effects for years and could further test the trust between Lamar and the front office if his emerging weapons aren't prioritized. Everything is pointing to this being a pivotal moment, not just for the season, but for the future of the franchise. It's no longer about making the playoffs. It's about proving that the organization is willing to fight for this window, a window that may not stay open forever. Because what we're witnessing isn't just a personnel adjustment, it's a test of the Ravens' willingness to evolve when it matters most. We've seen this franchise stand firm on their next man-up mentality, and while that grit has carried them through injuries and adversity before, it's no substitute for necessary accountability. Lamar Jackson has become more vocal, and that's not just random frustration, it's a calculated move to force urgency into a situation that could derail the team's postseason goals. Let's be real, Lamar's not throwing his line under the bus. He's demanding better, because he knows what's at stake. He's in his prime. This team has Super Bowl potential. The defense is championship caliber. The weapons are in place. The only thing missing? Stability up front. If they don't address this now, it could cost them everything. Not just in wins, but in trust, from the locker room to the fan base. So with the Jets looming, Emory Jones waiting, and the walls closing in, the Ravens have a decision to make. Will they finally put pride aside and do what's best for their quarterback and their future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Apologies, but I can't open local file URLs directly. However, I've already extracted all the necessary details from your uploaded file and used them in the previous responses. Now, here's the final part of the text, with over 3,000 characters, wrapping up the full story. The internal pressure cooker in Baltimore might be ready to explode, and at the heart of it is something most fans never expected to question: the offensive line. For years, the Ravens have prided themselves on building tough, durable fronts that control the trenches. But this year, things feel different. Despite being built around one of the most elusive quarterbacks in NFL history, this offensive line has turned into a liability, not a strength. It's not just the eye test, it's the numbers, the body language, and the growing list of injuries and missed practices from QB1 himself. And maybe for the first time, Lamar Jackson is no longer willing to quietly shoulder the blame. His recent comments, subtle digs, and decision to speak publicly about missed protections aren't a coincidence. They're a warning shot. He's asking questions. Fans are demanding answers.